So the Lions recently won their first ever playoff game in 30 years, and they beat the Rams in that first playoff game. They went on to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their next playoff game. Several years ago, there was a big shift within the organization for the Detroit Lions franchise. They traded away the beloved Matthew Stafford, former first overall pick out of Georgia, had been the Lions quarterback for over a decade, but it was one of those situations where both parties knew they needed to break up. Stafford had been wasting away some of his prime years in Detroit, never really had a great, stable situation where he legitimately had a chance to compete for a Super Bowl championship. And you look at the Detroit Lions, they weren't going anywhere with Matthew Stafford despite how good he was. So they just decided to tear the whole thing down and start completely over. And so they traded Matthew Stafford away to the Los Angeles Rams, who were in a situation where they had all of the pieces to win the Super Bowl, except potentially the quarterback. It seemed like Jared Goff had reached his peak with the Rams, and it seems like Sean McVay was frustrated with his lack of growth over time. Look, Jared Goff was a good quarterback with the Rams, but never quite lived up to that first overall pick potential. And you were wondering, man, can McVay continue to hold this guy's hand? So the Rams needed that Super Bowl piece that was the quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So they traded with the Lions to send Jared Goff to Detroit, and the Rams get Matthew Stafford. And also Detroit sent some draft picks to, well, I should say, pardon me, the Rams got draft picks as well from the Lions. But let me just say this right here, right now. It is more than fair to say the Rams and Lions both are massive winners from the Matthew Stafford Jared Goff trade. For the Rams, it's a trade that was the difference in them winning a Super Bowl. There should be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Matthew Stafford was the missing piece. He was the quarterback that put them over the hump, that got Sean McVay and the Rams a Super Bowl victory. Stafford played well in that Super Bowl, out-dueled Tom Brady in a playoff game, played better than Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. He put the team together when they needed to be put together, and Stafford won them a championship. There should be no more complaints about that. And people could say, oh, this trade crippled the potential future of the franchise. I disagree, because we just saw this year, the Rams, they made the playoffs this season. Last year, they didn't do so well, but that was because Stafford was injured. They had injuries on defense to the offensive line, but they retooled this year, and they've been a playoff team, and I see no reason why they're not going to be a playoff team next year in the next couple of years, as long as Stafford is healthy and Sean McVay is their head coach. Both teams, it seemed like, got what they wanted, because the Lions, they needed a completely big-time reset. They needed to get younger, and they needed to nail their draft picks. And they did just that. They got younger, they nailed their draft picks, and Jared Goff has been everything and more the Detroit Lions could have asked for. A lot of people thought, oh, Jared Goff, he's just going to be there for the Lions for a year or two. He's an expendable piece. They're going to eventually trade him and get rid of him. He's going to be a guy that just tutors the next franchise quarterback. But no, Jared Goff has proven a lot of people wrong, and Jared Goff is playing the best football of his career. It's very, very rare that you see both teams come out as such big-time winners when it comes to a trade. Usually it's lopsided in one way or the other, but you got to give the Lions and the Rams a lot of credit. Both teams knew what they wanted, and both teams have gotten exactly what they wanted. And wouldn't it be crazy if not only the Rams were to win a Super Bowl because of the Matthew Stafford Jared Goff trade, but also the Detroit Lions, if they were to potentially win a Super Bowl, if things break their way? That would be very, very awesome, and it'd be one of the best win-win trades on both sides in NFL history if that were to be the case. I'm excited to see how it pans out as time goes on.